Vocabulary Lesson for a 7th Grade Classroom by Linda Alexander. Hi, my name is Linda Alexander, and today I'll be teaching you the lesson that I use with my 7th grade students at Preston Middle School. The standard that this lesson will cover comes from Standard 2, Reading for All Purposes. Literary elements, characteristics, and ideas are interrelated and guide the comprehension of literary and fictional texts. This lesson will also incorporate the NET standard, where the teacher designed adapting learning experiences that incorporate digital tools and resources to promote student learning and creativity. To start your lesson, it is extremely important to introduce the learning targets and objectives in order for your students to understand and know what to expect from the lesson that day. In this lesson, the target will 1. be to understand the terms from a previous week, and also to introduce new terms for them to learn and understand. At the end of this lesson, students will be able to implement and define the 5 terms presented to them with 100% accuracy in a PowerPoint presentation. Start with a review of material in order to get the students engaged and their brains refocused. Place pictures and definitions from vocabulary studied previously, and by a raise of hands, have students come up to the board with the correct word or definition that belongs. This is what your Smartboard should look like after the students have come up and written their answers. Have a short discussion on the definitions and how we could apply these definitions in our own writing. Ask questions such as, how would utilizing the word offhandedly help my writing? What about these vocabulary words will change our writing? Now it is time to introduce the new words that they will need to know for the next couple of weeks. This would be a good time to mention that there will be a quiz or some sort of assessment on these words, and that they are really important to know in order to improve our writing. Read each word out loud, and to assure classroom engagement, have them thumbs up or thumbs down if they already know all of the words or at least some of the words, and then move on. Now you should place these words in sentences. You can either make these up or take them from the story that you will read in the class, or be creative with them. It's up to the teacher what you would like to do here. At this point in the lesson, we are working on context clues and inference. You want the students to try and guess what these words mean by utilizing the context around the word. It is a good strategy that they can take with them later in class or in other classes when they come across a difficult word. Read the sentence out loud for the first word, then have a raise of hands and have your students tell you what they think the word means. Take multiple opinions and write them on the space below. Here is what your Smartboard will look like after you have completed those words. Ask them questions that help them understand the reading strategy that they are using. For instance, ask them things such as, what are we using in this sentence to help figure out the definition of the word? How could you take that strategy and apply it to the novel that we're going to read tomorrow? Here is another example of how to use more words. You can put the sentences on multiple smart slides and take time in class to work together on the definitions. Another option that you could do is have the students turn to their partner and try and figure out what the definition of the word is. Then bring the class back together and have some share alouds on what some of the groups thought the definitions were and why. Again, here is what your Smartboard should look like. When your students share what they think the definition is, write all of their opinions on the board to compare with the real definition later. The same thing goes for the literary terms. Have them guess what a hyperbole is, and have another student try and give an example of what both a simile and a hyperbole is. I then have a student come up and erase the purple line with an example underneath. They then discuss again as a group what the hyperbole and simile is. Once the class is done discussing what each of these literary terms are, come up with an example or two as a class. For instance, a student came up with a simile, she was sweet as sugar, for her example of simile. Once you are done going through all of the definitions, go back to the first slide and have students come up and erase the marker that is covering the definition. The other students who are not erasing, have them get their netbooks or open a PowerPoint on a computer that they are sitting at. It is also important to go through an example with them before they get started. I used soccer, for instance, and we worked as a class on the PowerPoint, that way that they knew exactly what was expected of them before they got started. Have them find an image, video, or another form of media that relates to each term, and have them include that into their PowerPoint. Then, ask for any further questions, set them to do their task, and walk around the room making sure that they are staying on track on track and assist them in any way they need. This lesson is effective because it assesses student learning by illustrating their understanding of particular terms by implementing vocabulary into a PowerPoint presentation with images and definitions that they find independently. I hope this video is useful to you in your class, and thank you for watching!